In today's video, I'm going to debunk the Olympics.
As Watson picked up second.
The more we stay together, the more we come.
I'm mostly watching on the DVR, so I'm fast forwarding through a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of bullshit. But don't get me wrong, I was a fan of the Olympics for a long time. See, I've been a fan of the Olympics since '84, when the Olympics was in my hometown here in California. I even saw some of it live in my neighborhood. Totally cool. When they come to your own town and your local TV station just shows everything live, that's a whole different thing. And it's never been like that since. But I was still into the Olympics, even up to the year 2000. But it was around that time I started getting out of the Matrix. I've taken a lot of red pills over the last 15 years. Now I'm so out of the Matrix that I now see BS everywhere. It is a tough pill to swallow, but I think it's for the best. I think we'll be better off. So let's get to it. I got 5 different ways I'm going to trash the Olympics. I think the very first reason why I started thinking the Olympics are crap comes down to genetics. After watching many Olympics, I started to think about what's the difference between the people who get into the Olympics and the people who don't. And also, what's the difference between the people who win and don't win? Sure, a lot has to do with training and how much you want it, and the other thing comes down to genetics. You know, after watching so many athletes for so long, it's pretty clear that when you're at that high level that they're at, that comes down to genetics.
She's already, I think, one of the best in the world. That's another prodigy. And it's an event that the United States has never won. And it usually favors athletes who have figured it out over years and years and years. And this young girl has come here and made the U.S. Olympic team at 16 years old.
Just about no one could get to the level that these people are at. There's one from the 2008 Olympics that irritated me. This Michael Phelps guy comes out and just starts blowing records away. And I heard one of the commentators say that he's built like a fish. And he was just blowing every record away, including, this is what really irritated me, he topped the Olympian of the century. That's Carl Lewis, who's a vegan. He had the record of 10 gold medals. Well, it's easy to beat that if you're in swimming, which hands out a lot of medals. He just was in a whole bunch of stuff, and you're built like a fish. And for those of you in my vegan community, that was just before I got into this community, 2 weeks after. And in subsequent months, there was talk about Michael Phelps. Irritation over the fact he says he eats 12,000 calories a day, 12,000. And I made this prediction back then that after many years of stuffing himself with chocolate chip pancakes and other junk, that this would be his 15 minutes of fame. He wouldn't be in the next Olympics. And he was. Even after the marijuana stuff, you know, it just doesn't matter. He has the genetics. And when you're young, well, that's another thing. The athletes and young people, they can get away with bad eating that athletes are famous for. Okay, reason number 2, the Olympics suck, is because long ago, 80s, maybe 90s, the networks used to share the Olympics. Back then, it was ABC, CBS, and NBC. They used to rotate. Then NBC bought the Olympics. They f***ed it up a little bit in the 90s, and they started listening to complaints. NBC is just a major butt plug. And speaking of butt, this is the games of the sexed up Olympiad. So like I was talking about the 90s, ratings were down for the Olympics. And I feel that the Olympics would have faded away to at least cable television by now if it wasn't for certain tactics that they use to try to get more viewers. And like you might know from YouTube, when people try to get more viewers, the substance of their videos tends to go down. Have you noticed all the newer sports coming in to the Olympics? I don't know if they belong there. They're making the claim that they are using sex to increase viewership. And I feel there's like one or two sports there that wouldn't have made it into the games if it wasn't for the outfits. Now I know what some of you are saying. Well, legitimate sports like swimming, well, they gotta wear swimsuits. And there's plenty of sports where you just have to wear tight spandex and they have to... I could sit here just trying to describe exactly why it goes past necessity, but I think it's better if you see it for yourself. All these clips were from...
Young has some unique talents that we don't see much with divers at this level.
A huge talent, but had a little difficulty transitioning to...
And this is a play where even if
Kerry Walsh Jennings and April Ross in action on the Copacabana sand.
As Watson picked up second.
Well, Team USA awaiting a trip to the balance beam. They have a comfortable lead over China and Russia, and then
elevating her game. What's at stake tonight at Walsh?
Olivia is entered in the women's 200 meters. The women's 200,
Each player has their own special dance.
And when she passes, each one she passes.
Just earlier back in the warm-up pool, Michael Phelps congratulating Katie Ledecky on her.
Cheering for each other.
some cushion right now of 15.93.
To hang with them.
A U.S. sweep.
She's made the right decision.
Should be sparkling. The three medalists from London, including champion.
On her neck, as you saw at 10.
Ball cuffed it into the net. And it's not easy, right? You're kind of not easy, right? You're is getting the more we stay together, the more we coming up. Incredible rally won, but it's really not an upset. Brazil ranked number 2. We're on deuce now.
They do have their best scoring dive. It's Band or DJ.
So the first person top.
Are you still not convinced? With beach volleyball, they air the women more often, for reasons I've already laid out. But with swimming, they showed the men more often. And here's my theory, why they don't show the women more often. Now here's a reasonably attractive female swimmer we've been seeing a lot. Now look what happens when she puts on the swimming gear. It just doesn't work out so well for the women as opposed to the men. Now these outfits really aren't necessary. This whole sport isn't necessary. We already have a volleyball. The way things are going, soon they'll be playing this in the news. Oh look, here's vegan April Ross already training for it. Okay, next up is money. Now this is kind of like genetics. The more money a country puts into their athletes for training or maybe even paying their way through life, which I think some countries do, socialist, communist countries, more money equals more medals and more prestige for their country. This is why most of the rich countries get the most medals. It's ours, USA and China and Russia. And there's another thing that kind of fits in here, is 20 years ago or so, when they started letting professional athletes into the games. Young people might not realize there was a time when the Olympics were just for amateurs, because when you turn pro, that means you earn your living doing it, and you can just do that all the time. And you have an advantage over people who have to work a real job. They first did this with basketball, I think. I remember the Dream Team. We were seeing all the great basketball players, 7 feet tall, playing against 5-foot Venezuelan guys who looked like kids. It was pretty embarrassing. And another thing, who is choosing these cities that get the Olympics? In '96, Atlanta, Georgia, USA, got the Olympics. How did that happen? Well, sure, Rio has always been a good travel destination, but as we heard, Rio was having a lot of problems getting ready for the Olympics. The police force put out a message, basically just a message to everybody, like tourists, saying, don't come to Rio because we can't protect you. Look at this. Post a comment. I want to hear what you had to say. Thumbs up or thumbs down.